So you want to buy your dream home, but you have a home to sell and you have no clue where to start. How do you sell a home and buy a home at the same time? The fears of being homeless and not having anywhere to go. There's a lot to this process. And in today's video, we're going to go through the 5 strategies that you can use in order to sell your home while you're purchasing your dream home. And not only that, but we're going to discuss some of the strategies on how to leverage your equity in the current home you have in order to buy the new home. Hey guys, it's Patrick Lorienti here with Colorado Home Realty. And before we dive into things, I just want to encourage you to like and subscribe to the channel. We have new content coming to you every single Tuesday, and we want to grow. We want to increase our exposure and get this type of information out to as many people as possible. And your support is how we do that. Now, with that being said, you're probably on this video because you're thinking about buying your home, but you have a home to sell and you're not quite sure how that process works out. And you're kind of hesitant because of it. There's some fears maybe that come up for you. And how do we sell our home and buy one at the same time? Are we going to be homeless? Do we need to move in somewhere? Do we need to sell before we buy? And while these are conversations that really need to be had around the table with your realtor, I'm going to give you 5 strategies in this video on how you can successfully buy your new home while selling your current home. You know, I think the goal in all of these strategies is to tailor a selling plan for you to make this process as seamless and stress-free as possible. And how we do that is through these 5 strategies, but which one is best for you may depend on your current living circumstances and what options you do or don't have. Now, the first thing you need to understand before we dive into these strategies is what a contingency is. A contingency in a contract means that that contract is contingent upon something happening. And in a situation where you have a house to sell, that would be called a sell contingency, where the contract is only valid contingent upon you selling your house before you buy a house. That is an example of a contingency. And how these can work in contracts is different based on what strategy you use when selling your home to buy a new one. So let's dive in. The first strategy to sell your home and buy a new one. In this first strategy to selling your home and buying your dream home, we're going to sell your house contingent upon you finding a new house. So how that would work is we're going to list your house and we're going to find a buyer. That buyer is going to agree that the contract you have together is contingent upon you finding a house. If you don't find a house, you could terminate that contract and stay in your home. Now, the pro of this strategy is it's going to allow you to close on the sale of your home simultaneously with the purchase of the new home. So that way you can move from one house to another. The potential downside is that anytime you have a contingency like this, you may lose leverage in negotiating with the buyer. Not only that, but your deadline and time frame to find your dream home is going to put a little bit of pressure on you. And because that pressure, it may cause you to compromise and accept a lesser home because of the tight time frame. We, of course, would never encourage you to settle on the purchase of your new home, but with this strategy, you may find that to be the case. But don't worry, we have 4 other strategies that may or may not make more sense for you. Strategy number 2, similar to strategy number 1, but instead of a buyer allowing you to be contingent upon finding a replacement home, we're going to actually go out and find your new home before you list your current home. And how that's going to work is we're going to write a contract on the new house contingent upon you selling your house. In this strategy, you will have already found your dream home, gotten it under contract, with that contract being contingent upon you selling your house. That way, you don't risk losing earnest money if for some reason the sale of your house doesn't go as planned. The pro of this strategy, just like strategy number 1, is we're going to avoid a double move, meaning you're going to be able to take your stuff from one house and move it straight into the next house. The con of strategy number 2 is many sellers don't want to work with buyers who are contingent upon selling their house. therefore limiting your choices of homes that are available to purchase. Not only that, but when you do find a home to purchase, being contingent upon the sale of your home is going to take away your leverage in negotiating the best price and terms for yourself. And lastly, if the sale of your house is to fall through, you're at risk of the purchase of your new home also falling through and having to start back at step one. So while there is a pro of being able to simultaneously close and hope that you're able to sell and buy all at the same time, there are some cons associated with both strategy 1 and number 2, which brings us to strategy number 3 of how you sell your home and buy a new home. Strategy number 3 is you're going to sell your house without being contingent at all. If you remember in strategy 1, you were going to sell your house contingent upon being able to find a house to purchase. Well, in strategy number 3, we're waiving that contingency and need to find a replacement house. The pro of this strategy is now you get all the leverage back in negotiating the best price in terms with the buyer because you no longer need a contingency to find a new home. Now, the con in this strategy, unlike strategy number 1 and 2, is that you may be at risk of having to make a double move. If you're selling your house without being contingent upon finding a new home, there lies the risk of you having to sell your home and move into temporary housing while you find your replacement home. And while that is a con, the pro of that is you'll have the time and potential ability to be patient in the search for your new home. While all of this is going on, of course, the goal here in strategy 3 would be to find the replacement home while you're selling your current home. That way we can avoid the double move. But inherently, if you're selling without a contingency, there does exist the possibility that you will need to get into temporary housing if the house you're selling sells before you find a replacement home. Now, before we get into strategy 4 and 5, we've went through 3 great strategies. And to summarize them, the first one is you're going to sell your home, but you're going to have a contingency in there that's going to allow you to buy another one. And if you're unable to source your replacement property, you could terminate the sale of your home and rest and relax knowing you're not going to be homeless. Strategy number 2, well, you would find the house to buy first, contingent upon you selling your house, and therefore also making it to where you don't need to risk being homeless. Whereas the third strategy, you would sell your home without being contingent. And while we would go through the process and finding a new home within that time, there does exist the possibility of you having to get into a temporary home. In another video, we'll explain the thought process in why you might do strategy number 1 versus why you wouldn't do strategy number 1. But in this video, we're just going over a high-level analysis of these strategies so that you can understand them. So make sure to subscribe and like this video so that you can be notified next time we release a video going further in depth with these strategies and helping you decide which one really makes sense for your life circumstances. Now with that, let's get into strategy number 4. Strategy number 4 is going to allow you to find your dream home and purchase it without needing to sell your home. Now, the benefit of going through this strategy is that you can take all the time you need to find the perfect home. And you don't have the undue pressure of having to sell your home in a certain time frame in order to purchase your dream home. And so this strategy might lead to a stress-free process in that you don't have the pressure of needing to sell or buy with a contingency. Now, the caveat here is in order to buy the next one, you will need to qualify for 2 homes at once. And you may potentially need the equity from the sale of your home in order to purchase a new one. And so a conversation with a lender is highly encouraged in all of these strategies, but particularly strategy number 4, to ensure that you would be qualified and approved to purchase your next home without selling your current home. Now, let's say you need that equity in your current home in order to purchase the next home. There's a product called a bridge loan that's essentially going to allow you to take the equity out of your house before it sells and purchase the new home. And then once you sell your home, you would pay that bridge loan back and therefore be able to use that equity in your current home before you sell it. Now, the con of strategy number 4 is you may have a couple months of double payments as we work to sell your previous home after you purchase and acquire your replacement home. The other potential risk here is that there may be some uncertainty about how much money we will be able to sell your house for, and therefore potentially affecting the amount of equity you're able to pull from the sale of your home. Now, undoubtedly with strategy number 4, the big pro here is you're not going to have undue pressure of having to find a replacement property in a specific time frame. That same benefit is also going to be experienced in strategy number 5. In strategy number 5 to selling your house before you buy another house is you're going to buy your replacement property without being contingent upon selling your home, and you're not actually going to sell your home at all. You're going to rent it out and build wealth through real estate. Now, the key here in strategy number 5 is that you have to qualify for both homes. Depending on lending guidelines, when you purchase, you may be able to use a portion of that rental income to either offset or count as income in your approval as you get qualified to purchase your next home. Now, the con of strategy number 5 is that you're going to have an asset to manage, and that could include finding tenants, making repairs, and having miscellaneous expenses along the years of owning rental properties. Now, you can offset that con by hiring a property manager. However, that also comes at a cost. But my favorite thing about strategy number 5, depending on your current financial position and your current residence, is you may be able to cash flow, and that cash flow could be a substantial amount of money that can go into offsetting your mortgage on your replacement property, not to mention all the wealth building benefits of owning rental property. Folks, those are the 5 strategies you can use if you need to access the equity from the sale of your home when purchasing another home. Now, where do you fit within these strategies, and which one makes the most sense for you? In the next video, we're going to go through and discover which option might make the most sense for you, and when I typically recommend one option over another to current clients that I'm actively working with here in Denver, Colorado. Yes, you heard that right. I am licensed here in Colorado, practicing real estate day in and day out. And these are the conversations I have every single time when I'm sitting down at the table with a seller who is looking to sell their home and purchase a replacement property. And so if you're curious about which one is going to best fit within your life circumstances, subscribe to this channel and watch out for our next video coming Tuesday of next week.